This cannot be real. A report has revealed that the Pittsburgh Steelers are linked to a new quarterback as the draft is on the horizon. My name is Peyton Kleppe, and on today's episode of Steelers Digest, we'll be breaking down the latest Pittsburgh Steelers analysis and reports. The Pittsburgh Steelers look to head in a new direction after dealing with Aaron Rodgers and his dilemma. They look to find their next quarterback in the draft. But before I talk about it, if you guys are not currently subscribed, click that subscribe button down below. 91% of our current viewers are not already currently subscribed. So if you click that subscribe button, we're going to get you guys the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news, analysis, anything about the team. We'll get a video out to you daily. Let's get right into the news. So the Pittsburgh Steelers have been linked to a new quarterback. That quarterback is Shedeur Sanders. You know, this quote that came out today about Shedeur is that he really likes Arthur Smith and he really is favored by Coach Tomlin. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been linked to him. You know, I don't know how I feel about this move. They did bring him in on a visit last week, and like I said in last video, he did rank our visit at a 10 of a 10, and he has been linked to Arthur Smith and Coach Tomlin. This guy is one of the highest pro-ready quarterbacks in the draft. He's probably going to go second after Cam Ward as the obvious number one pick. Whether he goes to the New York Giants or somewhere else, we'll have to wait and see. But I really hope the Pittsburgh Steelers could make a trade to move up and get him. Ian Rappaport did report this the other day that the Panthers GM, Dan Morgan, put on his phone that, you know, after Derek Carr's injury, obviously the Saints need a quarterback now too, but the Pittsburgh Steelers could look to trade up because, the Panthers GM says we will be waiting if somebody wants to come up. Obviously, the Saints are another team, like I said, that do need a quarterback, but they're looking like they probably want to get Jackson Dart. Ian Rappaport also reported that they have done their homework on Jackson Dart. The Saints are looking like they want to get that Mississippi kid. So the Pittsburgh Steelers still have a chance on Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur has definitely had his fair share of issues in the draft process. You know, a lot of teams think he's a little too cocky, and he's been riding the coattails of his dad. Obviously, his dad wants the best for him, as all fathers do. And, you know, he was his coach all throughout his college career. Started off at Jackson State and obviously went to Colorado. Had a ton of success in the regular season, but obviously they didn't make the playoffs either year. So they were playing a lesser opponent than, say, an Alabama or an Ohio State or Michigan, one of these top teams. So obviously Colorado was not one of the best schools in college football, so he wasn't playing the highest talent, but obviously he is pro-ready. He's one of the top guys in the draft process, so the Pittsburgh Steelers could look to move up to the number 8 overall spot to get him if he's still there. If he goes earlier, I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to get him. This guy's going to go early in the draft. So another option that we've had this whole offseason, but he still doesn't want to make up his friggin' mind, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, though, Aditi Kimbala has reported that, you know, he's more favored to sign Aaron Rodgers because he said he'd rather play for a team or retire. That's what the odds are looking like, that if he doesn't play for a Super Bowl winning team, he's going to retire. So Aaron Rodgers could be the next quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, this guy has a huge ego. He brings a lot to the table, though. He's got a Super Bowl under his belt. He's got a few MVPs under his belt, and he's got a lot of wins under his belt. He also does have the best touchdown to interception ratio of all quarterback of all time, other than Tom Brady. This guy's got the best. He's got like 500 touchdowns and only 100 interceptions. Not a lot of quarterbacks can do that. Not even Big Ben did that, you know. So Aaron Rodgers is a talented guy. Obviously, he did not have a ton of success with the Jets. He had the Achilles injuries the first year, and then last year was kind of up and down. He really didn't get a lot of wins, but most of them really weren't his fault. Obviously, he didn't play too great, but the coaching staff and the roster around him are pretty terrible. I mean, other than Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams, this dude was running for his life behind that offensive line. The running back room wasn't as good as they expected, so this guy really did not have a lot of help in New York. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, if he wants to make up his friggin' mind and humble himself and sign the damn contract, he can, but we're still going to play this waiting game. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, either way, if they do sign Rodgers or don't, they will look to draft Shedeur Sanders. I think this is what the Steelers want. And if not, they could look to get Arch Manning in next draft. But I'm getting way ahead of the 8 ball. But realistically, the Pittsburgh Steelers will go with Shedeur Sanders. This quote said that if I had someone I trust that tells me if you bring Shedeur Sanders to Pittsburgh, he actually is what Arthur Smith would like because he's going to do exactly what you're supposed to do. He's going to play in the pocket. He's going to run your offense. And I think Shedeur is probably further along than people realize in a sense that he's played a lot of football with Jackson State and Colorado. He won a lot of games, and he really did and has not had that great offensive line play. Obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers, we do not have the best offensive line in the NFL. We've still got a lot of guys that need to develop. Obviously, Broderick Jones, our last first-round pick, Troy Fontanu, who's going to move in probably at that left tackle spot where Dan Moore Jr. was. Shout out Dan Moore Jr. Got that bag, but he's headed to Tennessee. Obviously, Mason Rudolph did that last year. He realized the grass was not so green on the other side. Dan Moore, I'm glad you got your bag. Go suck down in Tennessee. We don't want you anymore. We got Troy Fontanu taking over at left tackle. We got Broderick Jones at right tackle. And we got some guys developing in the middle. So, obviously, Shedeur Sanders is going to have some ups and downs with our offensive line if he does come in. But we do have guys like DK Metcalf and George Pickens at the wide receiver spot they're going to have to take at least 3 or 4 defensive guys just for those 2 guys alone. You're going to have to develop, or you're going to have to double cover at least one of those guys. If it's going to be DK or George Pickens, the defensive coordinator of the other team is going to have to choose because the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have a ton of options on offense with George Pickens, DK Metcalf, Pat Freiermuth, Mount Washington, Darnell in the middle. We got Jaylen Warren at the running back position, and I do believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers will also draft a running back. Obviously, in the first couple rounds, we do not have that second-round pick, so we could look to pick up another running back in the 3rd or 4th round. There's going to be a lot of running backs available. There's a lot of names on the board that the Pittsburgh Steelers have met with. We could even look to get a guy like Cam Skattebo. Obviously, he's a guy that showed out pretty well in the college football playoffs and the regular season, and he could look to be a late-round pick. I think the only other team, realistically, to probably get him is the 49ers. They've had some ups and downs with Christian McCaffrey and his injuries, obviously, and kind of let the rest of the backups go. Obviously, Jordan Mason left in free agency, so they could look to get Skattebo, but if not, the Pittsburgh Steelers could add 2 top college prospects to their roster next year in Shedeur Sanders in the 1st round and also get Cam Skattebo in the 3rd or 4th round at the running back position. I am so excited for this draft. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to make a ton of moves, and I think we're going to love what the con artist Omar Khan does with Coach Tomlin to make this another winning franchise and get us over that hump, that 9-8 hump, and get us into the promised land, get us to that Super Bowl, and get that number 7th Lombardi. That is all I have for you guys tonight on Steelers Digest. Thank you so much. If you guys have not clicked that subscribe button already, click it right now. Peace out. Here we go, Steelers.